What have I been telling you? All along. The Mandela effect, Flat Earth, the NASA hoax, and all the channels responsible for pushing it are at the bare minimum idiots, and most probably, if they're big channels, shills. I have no qualms whatsoever in stating that. I don't give a flying fuck. If you're pushing absolute garbage, then you deserve to be called out. You deserve to be bitch slapped. Alright? Now, these little girls are just little girls. They don't know their ass from their elbow. That is fucking purely obvious if you watch this idiotic video. Lovevie? My name is Evie. I'm a 15-year-old obsessed with anything beauty, fashion, or YouTube related. Well, obviously bullshit is up your alley. Now, these little girls are just the latest, or not even the latest. They're popping up like everywhere. Everywhere. So, let's take a look. When did this video come out? Well, it came out today. It's already got nearly 12,000 views. And you got a channel here of a 15-year-old girl that has 88, somebody inform, enter the stars, 88,665 subs. The idiocracy is alive, well, and thriving right now. The idiocracy. So all those channels responsible for the Flat Earth and Mandela effect and NASA hoax, all of those channels you can just sweep aside right away. You can just sweep them aside because they're all full of shit. They're all pushing absolute bullshit, and nothing is bigger bullshit than this garbage. So why are they doing it? Glad you asked. Why are they doing it? Because conspiracy theorists became a problem on the internet with 9/11 Truth and then subsequently Sandy Hook in Boston. So they saw that channels like Free Radio Revolution were becoming very, very successful at disseminating the information and getting millions of views and waking up thousands and thousands of people to the deceptions of the corporate media. Now, I was just one of many channels, but you know, I worked very hard to try to wake up people to what was going on. So, what is the reaction? Well, we'll send in a whole bunch of disinfo agents into the truth movement, and this is just one of their tactics, okay? We've shown this in the whole GCHQ handbook for online shilling, and the Tavistock Institute, and of course Cass Sunstein, who I've covered many, many times in their tactics. So what are their tactics? We're going to put a whole bunch of twoofers, right? Retards or shills, as I describe them, into the truth movement in order to make us all look insane and crazy so that nobody takes us seriously. Also, I mean, there's so many different things. They want to fragment everyone into small little groups so they're easy to control. There's no doubt about that. That's one of the things, because they targeted me in a big way because of how successful I was with We'll Do It Live, the Real Alternative Podcast, and Free Radio Revolution. So they're like, well, this guy, we got to do something about this. So that's why they sent their agents directly after me. John LeBon, directly. The first person that they reach out to and call on the phone is my shows, gushing me with praise and saying that I was somebody of extreme importance and that I was influencing people around the world. Terrible Tim. There's so many of them. Truth Media Revolution. So many of these characters that have come in are absolute frauds. And they're pushing the worst bullshit. And this is what the war is right now. Because instead of these kids... Now, I would say probably these kids are innocent. They just watched Jenna Marbles or Shane Dawson or any of the other fucking retards. And they're monkey see, monkey do. And they just gotten their first taste of conspiracy theory. So they're excited. And they think, wow, the world is a really mysterious place. And isn't it cool to think about this stuff? So on that hand, I can understand. Is it wrong to entertain the idea of conspiracies? No, it's not. But it is wrong to go on YouTube and make viral videos that get tens of thousands of people and you spread absolute disinfo, which is what these two teen girls... I'm going to be easy on these girls because I don't see them as, you know, I mean, they're just kids, right? They're just dumb kids. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? But you notice how, well, when I started the video, which was halfway through, they're talking about two conspiracies in particular. Which ones are they? The Mandela effect and the moon. The moon landings, the Apollo landings being a hoax. Of course they want to push that. They can't have flat Earth with Apollo being real. They can't have flat Earth with NASA being real. They can't have flat Earth with ISS being real and shit like that. And you could say the same goes for Mandela effect, and there are no forests on the flat Earth and all the other bullshit. They're all actors. I mean, a lot of the ones pushing the flat Earth are actors. The Nathan Oakleys, the Patricia Steers, the Mark Sargents, the Jesse Spots, the Deep Inside the Bullshit Holes, the David Cocksucking Weisses. They're all actors. And how dumb are you if you fall in for their act? How dumb are you? If you fall in for their act, then obviously you're a bit dumb. Alright, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means get off YouTube, open up books, go to the library. Because you're too dumb, you're far too gullible, and you're going to fall for this shit over and over and over again. And you got no one to blame but yourself. But yeah, here are these teen girls jumping on the latest craze. Now they've been conditioned into this total narcissistic sort of YouTube thing. It's really bizarre to watch people react to themselves in the camera and how much they enjoy looking at themselves, which is really disturbing. Very, very disturbing that you're conditioning kids into this selfie culture and that they just go giddy when they get to look at themselves on the camera. But we'll play a little bit of this. A message to Lovevie. This is for educational purposes and is non-profit, so you cannot copyright strike this.
We just were like, right, we need to make a video about this. We're gonna just be talking through some of the conspiracy theories, the Mandela effect, and just a bunch of things that will mess your brain. Let's get on with the video.
Okay, so they're going to talk about a bunch of conspiracy theories. Well, which ones are they going to talk about? Well, they're going to talk about 9/11 being an inside job. Nope. Are they going to talk about the New World Order, the one world government that is being formed right before your eyes? No. Are they going to talk about some of the shooting hoaxes like Sandy Hook or Boston? No. What are they going to talk about? The dumbest fucking garbage bullshit that has ever been pushed next to there are no forests on the flat Earth, which is the Mandela effect. So the kids are now being indoctrinated into conspiracy theories, and you see the cleverness of this. Let's give Cass Sunstein and co some credit, because this is one of their strategies. I want to make it clear that there is no one strategy that the shill operation on YouTube is up to. There's no one thing. Obviously, they're trying to break people up, fragment people, put people in small groups, and then thrust all these idiotic conspiracy theories, flood the truth movement with idiocy, get people fighting, infighting, and, you know, have people attacking anybody that has credibility, like myself, claiming that we're shills because somehow we don't believe in the Mandela effect, claiming that we're shills because somehow we don't believe that the earth is flat and you live in a fucking dome, because somehow we put more faith in hardcore proven science than retards on YouTube, high school dropouts that have the intellect of fucking, you know, tadpoles, lobotomized tadpoles at that. So they're getting the youth, instead of getting them, you know, instead of letting them fall into 9/11 and then serious conspiracies, the New World Order, one world government, all this shit going on, they're like, let's get them into bullshit. So that when they finally do start talking about this stuff with their parents or with their family, people say, well, you're an idiot. Oh, you're believing in YouTube conspiracy theories. Oh, you saw it on YouTube. Oh, and let me guess. You believe the Mandela effect, so you also believe that the earth is flat, right? Right? All space is fake. NASA's all fake. The ISS doesn't exist, right? Dinosaurs are a hoax, right? Stop me when I get something wrong here. But this is what's going on. There's no doubt about it. And I have been exposing this now for, man, it's like almost 2 years now. Going back to TransAsia, the most probable plane crash in the history of the world. Everything's a hoax. That's one of the things that they're pushing. Yes, absolutely. Any event that happens, a hoax, 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 hoax. Hooked on your hoax. Hooked on your hoax. Hoax, hoax, hoax. Right? You get the hoax-tards coming out who do no research, auto-hoax everything, and then only compile oddities to suit their sort of narrative. And there are, you know, probably legitimate people that just fall into the bullshit trail and don't have the intellectual wherewithal to pull themselves out. That's for sure. Now I have to pull myself further and further and further away from all the truth community and all the people that I've supported in the past, because I cannot tolerate or accept this, the dissemination of bullshit. I cannot do it. So if you're putting out Mandela effect bullshit, if you're putting out flat earth bullshit, if you're putting out NASA's all fake but you're providing no serious evidence, I'm just gonna stop supporting you, and I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna start fucking exposing your bullshit. So don't post bullshit. If you want to push shit and you have solid evidence to put forth, then I'll have respect for you. But my 2-month investigation into the whole NASA thing proved that most of the channels, almost all of the channels that are pushing NASA is a hoax, are all flat earth. So they're all frauds. They're all shills. Not saying that NASA doesn't lie about a lot of things. Sure, I'm sure they do. Government agencies lie about shit all the time. But do your own fucking research on everything. Do your own research on the Apollo landings. Look at all different sides and then make your opinion. But do not auto-hoax anything ever, because you're only fooling yourself, and you could be dangerous, because then you could use your influence, if you're you're a charismatic YouTube channel or something like that, to disseminate bullshit. And this is what I gotta warn people about, is that don't fall into the traps that Cass Sunstein and the GCHQ and the Tavistock Institute and co have laid for you. Do not fall into them, because that is their method of destroying our credibility. They don't want people to pay attention to real conspiracies, because they know that the real conspiracies that are happening are the things that would directly affect their takeover of the world. If people start to wake up to the fact that there's a one world government that's forming through the United Nations, and that all these treaties are being signed and all these trade pacts, then people are going to start to get angry and protest these things and talk about them. So what's one of the solutions that they put forth? Let's get people to talk about the idiocy. Let's get people to talk about stupid things. Let's get people, let's expose these people for how dumb they really are, because chances are most of these people that are pushing this shit haven't done serious research anyways. So let's exploit their weaknesses. Let's exploit their lack of intellect. And let's push these conspiracy theories into the mainstream. And that's exactly what's happened with the Mandela effect, just like the flat earth. I mean, I reluctantly came forth with the flat earth and exposed it, and we did our first podcast on it on June of 2015. But I had been watching it since about January of 2014, and I saw where it was coming from, because it was all the same channels that were pushing disinfo at that time. And we're all the same channels also that pushed that TransAsia was a hoax. So I saw it coming, and then we were talking about it behind the scenes for months. We were discussing it. We saw it as an operation. So we were in a uniquely privileged position to watch the PSYOP unfold. And that's what we did. We watched it unfold. And then finally, when it got to critical mass sort of thing, where it went into mainstream, or started to go into mainstream, we were forced to come in and react to it. And then after I had left the scene for a couple months and came back, I came back specifically to expose the flat earth PSYOP, because at that point in time, it was, B.O.B. coming out. You had Bob, you had Tila Tequila, you had Neil deGrasse Tyson do the drop the microphone and all that shit, and it had reached its apex in popularity, so it needed to be exposed. And since I was in a very unique position to do so, I came forth. And this is exactly what's going on now with the Mandela effect. It's exactly what's going on. They're pushing it into the mainstream. So I think these girls are probably innocent, and I'm not here to bash them, although I do have to wonder at how dumb people are to sub to this kind of bullshit. But this is probably not their run-of-the-mill video. I don't have time to go in and watch any more of their stuff. Obviously, there's far more important things to do. But let's just see how they kind of fall into this conditioning and how they buy things. And you got to think, these are 15-year-old girls. And if you're a girl, And you think back to when you were 15 and think about what you knew about the world, what you knew historically about the world, how many books you had read at that point in time in your life, how much science knowledge did you have, quantum physics, anything like that. Probably very little. And the same for guys. Okay, so we're dealing with complete ignorance here.
Oh, first off, we're going to be talking Mandela effect.
Oh, jeez.
This.
Yeah.
The Mandela effect is.
There that like someone's gone back in time and changed like little things that no one should notice, but everyone has noticed.
No, that's not the Mandela effect. You're getting it wrong. The Mandela effect is that CERN has opened up an alternate sort of universe, and we're only realizing now because we have collective memories that we remember things a certain way, but everything has been changed.
It's named after Nelson Mandela because everyone thought he died in prison.
No, everyone did not think he died in prison. There's probably a few hundred people that thought he might have died in prison, and they're probably dumb people that are watching idiotic YouTube channels like retard vids. So stop saying everyone. Just stop. Now, I hope you girls see this because you deserve to be spanked. Right? Just, I mean, you really do. I mean, for putting out this kind of crap, you're talking directly out of your rectum here. And if you don't know what your rectum is, I suggest you open up a book. But you girls don't know your ass from your elbow, and you're coming forth and you're saying everybody remembers Mandela. Everyone does not remember Mandela. I could talk to mature adults. I could talk to 50 or 100, and probably one or two of them would get it wrong. Most of them would remember, yes, Nelson Mandela was in prison for, 37 years or something like that. And there was a huge push in the late 80s to end apartheid. You can even watch movies like Lethal Weapon 2, in which the bad guys were the racist Afrikaners, of course, the Dutch colonized sort of descendants who were refusing to give up the apartheid system, which gave the whites privilege of having their own government control the state of South Africa. So Nelson Mandela is famous because world pressure forced them to end apartheid and bring about equal sort of elections. And then guess who became the first black president of South Africa? That was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was also visible and huge he was probably the biggest figure when they had the World Cup of rugby. I think it was 1992 or 93. I don't know exactly when, but I remember vividly watching it. And Nelson Mandela came out, and it was a big moment. South Africa won the World Cup of rugby, and I was playing rugby at the time. I was a kid, and I was big into this stuff. Nelson Mandela, and then they made the movie not too long ago. Clint Eastwood made the movie, and I think it was called Invictus or something, and it was about Nelson Mandela and the World Cup of rugby, and how they used the World Cup to push what they wanted to push, to try to turn the tails on apartheid and to bring about some sort of equal. So if you know your history, and that's just a gloss over, you know that there's no way that Mandela died in prison. It didn't happen. Now, I don't know where that came from. Obviously, Fiona Broom. So Fiona Broom, if you look up Fiona Broom, right? And if you look at Fiona Broom, the Genre Traveler Podcast, episode 64. So you have a woman that is taking the pose of a gypsy with crazy eyes and a crystal ball. You can't smell the bullshit. Now think about the name Fiona Broom. So she's like a gypsy witch. Broom. Broome. Right? Like she's a witch. She's utterly fraud. A complete fraud. There's no truth whatsoever. So right away, the whole Mandela effect thing is instantly discredited. Instantly, because most people that read books and are fairly intelligent, haven't completely lost their minds, will vividly remember Nelson Mandela becoming president of South Africa, being at the World Cup of Rugby, and the early 90s or mid 90s, and you know, the whole end of the apartheid system in Africa. So there's no truth to it whatsoever. Now most of us know he died not too long ago, a few years back, sort of thing, right? He was very old. So so there's right away the name is useless, because you can't call something the Mandela. I said you can't call something the flying pink elephant effect and say, well, okay, maybe flying pink elephants aren't real, but the effect itself is real. No, your flying pink elephants don't exist, so you can't call it the flying pink elephants effect. It doesn't exist. It's total bullshit. So therefore, the Mandela effect is total bullshit just on that alone. Now, why do they choose? I showed this way before, maybe a couple months ago, the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect, the way that it's written, right? It makes you, because it's a name, Mandela, and you're like, well, what is that? Does it have something to do with now? Yes, it does have. Oh, yeah. And they know that a lot of people that are going to fall for this are going to be young people. A lot of people that wouldn't have vivid memories of Nelson Mandela, but may have memories of Nelson Mandela dying. And then they can twist that around and mix it up, and of course put pictures of Morgan Freeman, who played Nelson Mandela, and make you think, well, maybe there's some truth to it. There's no truth whatsoever. It's just bullshit.
Years ago, but he actually died a couple years ago.
People remember something as something, but it's not that.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Read
no,
books.
I swear it was that, but it's
And
not.
it's not just like
changed.
one person, it's like
Yeah.
millions of people.
No,
as well.
no. Millions of people? Shut the fuck up. A few hundred at most. At most. And those people are agents, most likely, and they don't really believe in the Mandela effect. Now, there's dummies. There's a lot of stupid people. We are living in the idiocracy. But there are not millions of people that believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, and that the Mandela effect is real, and that you're living in some sort of alternative universe. There are not millions. And if there were millions, well, that could just be the idiocracy proving itself. These people, though, are intent, or at least they are either wittingly or unwittingly contributing to this psychosis. This crafty little psychosis, which is going to be used to destroy conspiracy theories as we know it. This is how they do it. I mean, if you saw my work a couple years back on the GCHQ handbook of online shilling and all their tactics that they use, and how they're going to put agents in to divide and conquer people and push absolute bullshit, get people to fight each other, fragment groups up, you would know that you would be able to smell these things from a mile away, and that's why they're obvious. That's why I jumped on there are no forests on the flat earth, because I saw right away. I'm like, okay, I'm going to snuff this out right away. And the same thing happens when you search there are no forests on the flat earth. My videos don't come up, because YouTube's involved in this too. They're big multi-channel networks that are the ones that are responsible for making this a viral meme. And everyone is putting out videos on it, and it's not really necessary. All people have to do is watch my series on this. That's all you need to do, is watch my series. I mean, you could watch some other people's work on it as well, but my series on the Mandela effect completely exposed it at all. I went through all their points. I went to Fiona Broom's website. I went through everything that they positioned, every single argument that they made, from geography to history to brand names to everything. It's all, and I proved it's all bullshit. Jiffy Pop, Jif peanut butter, things like that.
First Mandela effect we're going to be talking about that is actually quite a new one. I think it just like popped up.
Yeah.
Febreze.
Oh.
Pause the video right now, guys, and comment down below how you spell Febreze. Like,
Brands never spell, or rarely ever spell. It's like Captain Crunch. It's not Captain, it's Cap'n Crunch. Just like Febreze. Now you're gonna think it's Breeze because you went to school, probably graduated from, well, you haven't graduated from high school, but you went to elementary school. You learned basic grammar, and so you know probably how to spell breeze. And then you think, well, Febreze must have been with the double E, but it's never has been. And it's just because you're dumb, you don't read books, you don't pay attention, you've been consuming idiotic videos on YouTube, and you're not using your brain, and you're not processing things properly. People misremember things all the time, and that's why the Mandela effect is so successful, because we are living in the idiocracy, and I shudder to think where it will be in 10, 20 years. But people get things wrong all the time. And that's exactly what Cass Sunstein and co. know. They know that we misremember things all the time, and that we massively misremember things. That's why they're able to push the Bernstein. They know exactly the kind of things. Well, let's look at children's books. None of these people that are going to be making these videos have read these children's books since they were kids. So it's an easy thing, because there's very rarely a Stein name that is spelt Stain. So they know that most people would misremember those things. So you have a classic case of massive ignorance, essentially, on YouTube and elsewhere, wherever this is being pushed. It's okay to be dumb. It's not okay to be dumb and to try to push your dumbness onto other people. I think that's a problem, because when you're really stupid and you start making videos and you're like, man, I think the Mandela effect, you should just shut up, get off YouTube, and you should be smacked. I mean, I was saying the other day, because the Truther girl put up the video, and I was like, there should be stupid shaming, like fat shaming. You're like, yell at somebody that's really fat walking into McDonald's, say, don't fucking eat there, or don't go into Dunkin' Donuts. I don't think you should go in there. And you think, well, you shouldn't be a cruel-hearted person. You should, be sensitive to that person's needs. Well, that person's gonna fucking die because of their idiocy. Literally, they're gonna die. A super obese person that's walking into Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's should be yelled at. Should be a sign saying, if you're over 200 pounds, you probably shouldn't eat here. Because it's probably going to be bad, detrimental to your health. Although I do believe in free enterprise capitalism, so you can't go in and do the Bloomberg thing where you're going to tell people that you can only have a certain size of soft drink and shit like that. It's just garbage. People will eat what they eat, and people will consume what they consume. And if people want to be dumb, they'll be dumb. If people want to spend all their time talking about idiocy, then people will spend all their time talking about idiocy. But if there was stupid shaming, then it would be like, look, you're dumb, and you need to stop making YouTube videos, and you should get off YouTube, and you should spend a couple years at the library reading books. Build up a solid sort of foundation of critical thought, then come forth and make your YouTube channel. Because otherwise, you're misleading people, and you're helping push the idiocracy to new levels that are beyond astonishing.
Please. My whole life, I swear, it's F.
Yeah, of course.
I'm unsure on this one because is this just me? I'm unsure on this one because I don't know if it's just the way I've been hearing it, if I've heard it wrong. Next one is Magic Mirror.
Magic Mirror on the Wall, because the Magic Mirror in the Disney cartoon, it is not the first, Snow White. You gotta understand, Disney makes movies on things that are usually, at least back then, they would take things like Brothers Grimm fairy tales and stuff like that. So if you go to the Brothers Grimm fairy tale and you read it, it says mirror, mirror on the wall. But for Disney, because the mirror itself has a physicality. So if we look up here, and I'll just explain, this is just common critical thought. Magic Mirror. Right? This is for Snow White. This is why it's referred to as Magic Mirror, because the Magic Mirror itself, it's not just some dumbass mirror. It's actually, there's actually an apparition here of a face. She is directly talking to the apparition. That's why she's referring to it as Magic Mirror. But if you read the original of Brothers Grimm fairy tale, it says mirror, mirror on the wall. So there's going to be a lot of different iterations, right, of Snow White throughout the last 100 years or so that are going to have differences in how they refer to the mirror, or how they refer to other characters. And this is just one of them. And this is why you get it wrong, because probably as a kid you read the Brothers Grimm tales. I read all the Brothers Grimm tales when I was a kid, and that's where they came from. And if you don't know about the Brothers Grimm, they were like couple of brothers that went around collecting old wives' tales in Prussia and Germany, and like, I don't know, a couple hundred years ago. So they collected all these old wives' tales, and the old wives' tales are cautionary tales for the most part about kids. They try to spook kids. That's why Hansel and Gretel. Don't go wandering off in the woods alone, otherwise you might find yourself baked in some cake or something like that, right? By some evil witch. And it was to scare kids into doing proper things. So all you got to do is apply critical thought to all of these things. It's just like, no, I am your father. No, I am your father. Now, anybody, like, I have friends. I had one friend who claimed he watched The Empire Strikes Back 500 times in his life. He could recite the entire movie, right? He could recite verbatim every line throughout and nail everything. Anybody that's seen Star Wars, that is a really big Star Wars fan, knows, because it's the context of the conversation. He's talking to Luke, and then he's saying to Luke, did Obi-Wan tell you about your father? And Luke is like, he told me you killed him! You told me! And he goes, no, I am your father. He's not going to say, Luke, I am your father. He says, no, I am your father. And that's why it's so shocking, because nobody at this time, it was 1983, thought that Luke Skywalker was... That was the most shocking revelation, in one of the most shocking revelations in movie history. People get it wrong because what happens is all these shows and parodies and Robot Chick and all this come out, and they simplify it because they can't use the full context of the conversation, so they'll simplify it, saying, Luke, I am your father. But it never was that. That's just a mistake. And if you watch the film and then if you think about it with critical thought, if you apply critical thought, you understand the context of the conversation of what happened. All right? Let's see if we can find the quote so I can explain this and just put it to bed forever, sort of thing. Okay? And look what they do. Luke, I am your father. No, it wasn't. It was always, I'm your father. Or, no, I'm your father. So they're messing with people over and over again with this shit. So, let me just look on, see if we can find it. Here's the Internet Movie Database here. Okay. Luke, I'm your father is probably the most famous line in the film. Too bad Darth Vader never said it. The Guardian lists the top 10 movie misquotes. Luke, I am your father. You see, what happens is simple. You know, people get it wrong at some point, just like Interview with a Vampire, which has always been Interview with the Vampire. They get it wrong at some point, and they're usually subtle differences. With this is what they exploit with the Mandela effect. They're usually subtle differences, like Interview with a Vampire, Interview with the Vampire. And I say that, and I go, Interview with a Vampire, Interview with a Vampire, Interview with a Vampire, Interview with a Vampire. Which one am I saying, A or the? I switched back and forth when I said that. You can't even tell, because the difference is so minute. This one, though, is just how people get it wrong, because a lot of people just think, well, you have to put Luke in there to make sense of the quote, but really it's a conversation, and the conversation was laid, it was unfurling. So they were having that big, deep conversation, you know, after Luke got his hand cut off. And then, did Obi-Wan tell you about your father? And he told me you killed him. Right, let's see if we can find the quote here. Let's see, we'll just look here. Empire Strikes Back. Why don't they fucking have it? Stupid website. Alright, so Empire Strikes Back. Now we'll go into the quotes, because I know Internet Movie Database has them. And I'm only doing this for the young kids that fall for this stuff, because you don't have context of how this stuff is. You just don't have the context. You've been watching so much, you've heard so many different things from so many different sources that you misinterpret them. So, okay, let's go down. All right. There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you. Right? Luke, you do not realize your importance. You have only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end the destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. And then Luke, I'll never join you. If you only knew the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. No, that's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. No. And then he jumps off. The context of the conversation. The simplification of the conversation so that you can iconically link the two together. This whole thing, the "no, I'm your father," has been misquoted over and over again as Luke, I'm your father. It's just so, and you think about it like this, if you go around saying, no, I'm your father, most people are like, what? But if you say, Luke, I am your father, then you think, oh, it's Star Wars. So you know the context of the conversation. People get things wrong all the time. Now, I had no problem whatsoever with this, even though if you go back and you listen to this video, I got some of the conversation wrong. Right? I'm not going to remember everything verbatim, but I remember it vividly. As a kid who's watched Star Wars Empire Strikes Back 30, 40 times in my life. I remember this quote vividly. No, I am your father. So there's nothing, you got it all, everybody's getting it wrong. And it's just something that people misquote. That's all.
This is the worst one.
This is the worst one. My whole childhood, because in my school play when I was in year 6, I was the evil queen, and it was.
Were you actually?
And it was Snow White.
Okay, the Snow White thing. We got through that.
Like certified by Disney, and like it's like on T-shirts and everything. Though,
Yeah.
so it has
And
to
in
be.
all the films that have come off of Snow White, called it Mirror Mirror. Mirror Mirror, and everyone. It's the moon. How the moon landed.
Okay, so then they get into the moon landing. Okay. The problem with this is that a lot of people are watching it. That's the problem with it. And a lot of kids are falling for it. And of course, they want kids to follow for utter bullshit so that they can come and say, look how dumb you are. You actually fell for this conspiracy theory. Don't believe in conspiracy theories. You know, you're a Illuminati, right? And then reinforce it with all their Saturday Night Live jokes about conspiracy theorists and all that. It's all a clever plot to discredit real conspiracies. That's what it is. And these kids are unwittingly playing part of it. I don't think they're big enough to have been told to do this. They just watched Shane Dawson, Jenna Marbles, and whoever else, and we're like, well, let's do a Mandela effect. Oh, wow, that sounds cool. They're just kids. They're dumb kids. That's all. I mean, and these girls probably aren't retards. They just are not well educated, and they don't possess critical thought, and they can't see how easily they are being manipulated into pushing absolute bullshit. All this Mandela effect is just a perfect illustration of the idiocracy at work. And all the people that have fallen for the Mandela effect are dumb people. All the people that have fallen for the Mandela effect are dumb people. Do I have to repeat it again? Are you going to misquote it? Are you going to get it wrong? You know, he said this, he said that. People are dumb. And you people need to stop being dumb. It's not the end of the world. You're dumb now, but you can get off the internet. You can open up books, and you can get your brain working. You can develop a strong basis of critical thought, a strong foundation like the Trivium, and then you can easily catch yourself from falling into any of this bullshit, and easily recognize the disinfo channels that are out there to psyop you into idiocy. Easily recognize all the disinfo that is being pushed out there as evidence or fact, and then you're safe. And then you can shame people into being smarter. because it doesn't work the other way. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. It doesn't work being nice. What am I going to be nice to? The dumb Christians that fall for the Mandela effect? Be nice to you? Oh, how dare you? Fuck you. You're dumb, and I'm wasting my time because of your dumbness. I have to devote my time to this utter fucking bullshit because you people do not possess critical thought. That's a fact. That's why I am not part of this twoofer movement whatsoever, because I recognize that it's been overrun a long time ago and that the bullshit is running rampant. Nobody's going to take conspiracy theories seriously because of the craftiness of this operation and how they are exposing the idiocy of, you know, most humans that are out there. So you might be insulted by me putting you down, but I'm hoping to shock you into action so that you do not fall for this shit anymore. And then, you know, it's like the fat person walking into McDonald's and you scream, "Don't go there! You! Don't go in there!" Now that person's gonna go home and have a really bad day, and they're gonna fucking be depressed, and they're gonna look in the mirror, and they're gonna hate themselves, but maybe, just maybe, you might have done something that will forever change them. And they'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to fucking jog for, I don't know, 50 feet or whatever. And then tomorrow I'm going to try and jog 100 feet or whatever. And I'm just going to stop eating the bullshit. I'm never going to go to McDonald's again. And then maybe you just fucking help them in a huge way. So that's where I'm at with this shit, where I'm just like, you know what? Take the gloves off. Take the kitty gloves off. Start spanking people. Just start fucking hurting their pride so that they are so upset, they're so traumatized by someone telling them how dumb they are that they actually stop being dumb. So please, just stop. Stop pushing the bullshit. And if you're a channel out there and you're one of these big woofer channels and you're pushing Mandela effect and you got Mandela effect videos up on your channel, I'm gonna smash you. I'm gonna fucking smash you. Fair warning.